Hey Jack, sorry it took so long. This one's for you. Hey YouTube, I'm Ali, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at Smallworld, an incredibly popular board game, both available as a board game and in fact in digital formats too, but something that's not played that often in our household. Want to know why? Well, stay tuned and you'll find out. Smallworld is a tiny land occupied by far too many races. Each race has a special, unique and random skill associated with it. We're going to be using those races to occupy as much of the board, which represents Smallworld, as possible. Every time we take a space and occupy it, make it our own, we get a gold coin. Hurrah! The winner is the one with the most gold coins at the end of 9 turns of play. Smallworld is very much a family game, no adult themes here at all. In fact, the cartoony graphics may make you think that this is suitable for very young kids. It's not. There is a little bit of thinking here. Go for an 8+ or so and you're golden though, I think. In terms of number of players, the box says 2 to 5. I've got no issues with that. I prefer 2 players over 5, and it's a rarity that happens. Part of the reason, though, is because I think starting with a fewer number of people means that you've got a little bit more time in a very confined board to have a strategy going. When you start with 5 players, you're starting to fight straight away. It doesn't give you that much time to actually work a plan out, I find anyway. So 2 players is preferable for me. In terms of duration, the box says 40 to 80 minutes, implying it's more time the more players that are playing. I would agree with that, but I wouldn't agree with the time. 2 people, I would say, takes about an hour. 5 people, way over an hour and a half is the last game we played. But on average, I would say an hour for 2 people. The type of game, this is very much a board game. It's very much a board game. You get 2 boards, in fact, as you shall see, and a lot of counters. Can you play this when traveling? No, of course you can't. That would be stupid to do. What you can do, though, is play the digital version of this, which is available both on Android and iOS, I believe. In terms of rule complexity, now, here's the thing. It took us a couple of minutes to read the book. It took us a little bit longer than that, actually, to read the rules, but to get the general gist of how to play, 2 minutes. By my definition, that makes it an average complexity when it comes to rules. It took us about the same time, 2 to 3 minutes, to explain the rules, the high-level rules at least, to new players. So average for complexity. In terms of depth of game, are there strategies you can apply? Again, it's not super deep, but neither is this a light game. I think there are some complexities here, so I'm going to go average on that too. In terms of interactions, this is very much a direct conflict game. The whole game is built on the premise of invading each other's spaces, so prepare to do that. And that takes me down to whether this is a single or a team play game. This is very much a single player game. You can form alliances, but it's not written in stone and they often fall by the wayside. On now to mechanics then, and my 3 mechanics. The first one is very obvious, it's area control. The more of the board you occupy, the greater your chances of getting gold and winning. So area control makes obvious sense to me. Secondly, I'm going to go for variable player power. Each race will have a different or unique random power associated with it, and that adds a huge amount of variance in gameplay. And the third one I'm going to go for is a marketplace. The way you get those races into your hand and to be able to occupy and play with them, occupy spaces and play with them, is through a marketplace. When it comes to the box, it's a pretty decent box. Nice, sturdy, beautiful artwork all over. I love the back of it because it shows you the map itself and the setup, plus a little bit of blurb about what the game's talking about. In terms of size, it's probably the ideal size for this kind of game, I think. What do we get inside? Well, let's start with the rule book. Again, it's a pamphlet book. It's set out really, really well with plenty of examples, plenty of pictures, and very easy to read and understand. Good rule book. On top of that, because there are so many different powers and races, or each of which also have special abilities, a cheat sheet is required, and this is a big old cheat sheet. There are 5 of these because there are 5 people who can play the game. They're double-sided and they explain exactly what each power does. There we go. 5 of those, which I'm going to move over to the side. Now, onto the board. Now, the board actually comes in 2. There's 2 boards, in fact, depending on the number of players. If you're playing with 2 or 3 people, you're going to use the smaller board, which looks like this. Hello, there we go, smaller board. Double-sided again, depending on 2 or 3 players. That's marked in the corner at the top. It's a very small world indeed. Slightly bigger if you're playing with more players, but not that much bigger. Again, double-sided board. I'm not going to open it out, but it opens out to be a slightly bigger board as well, about twice the size, in fact. Now, the crux of the matter, I don't know what I mean by that. The main bit of this box though, and this box does have an inlay, and it's important. Normally I don't like inlays, but this is very, very important because this box is absolutely packed with tokens. Now I'm just going to quickly go through them. There are certain tokens that go on the board and stay on the board. These are mountain markers, for example. There's little fortifications. These things here represent the actual races. And then there's a second stack that you join together with the race to give it its power. So the powers are separate from races. Mix the 2 together, hundreds and hundreds of variances there. A ton of money, which is what you're going to be using to measure how well you're doing. Some special chits there. The main races themselves are displayed as these tiny little squares with a picture on them. One in colour, implying that they're active and agile and able to do whatever this card says. On the other side, it's a sort of sepia black and white kind of colouring, indicating that your race is in decline, which is part of the game, and that you won't be able to use the ability, but you still will be able to grab in the cash. I'm not going through the full rule set here because that's a completely different video, but yes, tons of stuff here, tons of stuff that you get, all in a very nice inlay. I haven't bagged it up because they fit in there. Just be mindful that if you're showing it ever to anyone on camera, they might have a liability of slipping out. I don't know where I'm going with that. Anyway. There are very few games that marry up theme and mechanics as well as they do in Smallworld, I've got to say. The idea that you could have a race such as humans, who in this game at least are notorious farmers and gain extra benefits from occupying farmland, pairing that with the ability, let's say, of flying, and then having the ability to fly around the board and go to any space rather than slowly spread to adjacent areas. Perfect. Makes perfect sense to me. Works really, really well. The one thing I would say perhaps is that there are quite a few special add-on abilities that appear. For example, if you're heroic, you end up with these 2 heroes, which basically safeguard lands. That seems a little add-on-ish, a little sort of out of normal character, but that's my only qualm. The rest of it, beautiful. Really works well. Good marks. Top marks, in fact, for theme and mechanics weaving together. Do you make meaningful decisions in this game? Well, you do if you're a seasoned player, or at least if you've played a few games. You see, those decisions have to take place based on abilities and races and the placement on the board. And that's something you only get a feel for if you've played a few games. As a beginner, you don't really get that. And that's a pity, because it's the same theme I'm going to say, in fact, I'm going to see in the next 2 questions. Are there multiple paths to victory? Well, there are. You could perhaps just occupy a smaller space and try to generate more money in some way, but largely your money generation is going to come from grabbing the right races. Do you spend money to buy those races, or do you not? Something you can't determine as a new player. You've got to have played a few games to understand whether that's worthwhile doing or not. And when it comes to skill versus luck, I mean, I absolutely love the idea of variance in this game. The fact that you pair up a race with a skill randomly is awesome. There's plenty of replayability because of that. I would say it would have been awesome to have a modular board as well, something like Catan, where each of the land masses could be rearranged to create a completely new board each time. That might be an awesome addition. But again, the skill versus luck piece is a little biased towards someone who's played it a few times. If you're a new guy, you're really going to struggle, I think, against someone who's played this a few number of times. When it comes to being engaged, though, the game still captivates me. The iconography, the pictures on there, beautiful. But also, the world is small, the map is small, you are constantly under threat of being attacked, and that keeps you engaged all the time. Whether you've got the wits to be able to work out what to do, of course, I mean, that's a separate thing. Finally then, question 5, did I have clear iconography and legible text? Yes, you absolutely do in this game. Again, this is produced by Days of Wonder, the version I have at least it is, and they have really high production values. I love all the tokens being nice and chunky and tangible. I love the map or the board being very clear. I was able to occupy my tokens in those spaces very comfortably, so it all worked for me in those bits. But those first 3 answers to my 5 questions are the ones that trouble me. I think if you come from a background of chess or Risk, or if you're a seasoned board gamer and played something like Kemet, I think this is going to be a great game for you. If you like the direct conflict, again, I'm going to stress that I think this is a great 2-player game, although plenty of people, my son included, swear by playing this game with multiple people, and it's one of their favourites, in fact. For me, though, I think that bias between someone who's played it before and someone who's new to it is quite big. It's very unfair on a new player, I think, who doesn't understand the skills and races and can't utilise them. And for that reason, it doesn't rate that high in my own opinion. That said, I can totally understand that if I spent some time getting to terms with the skills and the capabilities, I could really enjoy the game. So totally respectful of those that do like this game. Now, if you are one of those people that absolutely loves the game, let me know in the comments below. If you've never seen this game before, but it appeals, again, drop me a line. I'd love to hear from you. If you've enjoyed this video, consider giving me a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe because, quite frankly, I need all the subscribers I can get. For now, though, I want you all to take care of yourselves, and I shall see you soon. Take care, YouTube. Oh, and be careful of that virus. It's still out there.